Member for Saanich North End Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last Thursday, Squamish Nation clearly gave notice to the province that they want old-growth logging in their territory deferred. Squamish Nation spokesperson Horgan said, quote, "The government is infringing on our rights by allowing these sites to be logged without our permission and without our consent," end quote. In his response last week to the Huu-ay-aht, Ditidaht and Pacheedaht request for deferrals, the Premier said, quote, "The first step in protecting old growth must be respecting Indigenous people's land management rights in their territories," end quote. The Minister of Forests was also eager. She said, quote, "True reconciliation means meaningful partnerships, listening to Indigenous peoples and trusting their stewardship of their territories. This is a step in the right direction, but we know there's more work to do," end quote. If the Premier and this Minister are sincere in their promises to respect land management rights of Indigenous peoples in their territories, we will see an immediate positive response to Squamish Nation's assertion of their rights. Mr. Speaker, simple question to the Minister of Forests. Has she accepted Squamish Nation's request for deferrals on old-growth harvesting in their territory?
Minister of Forest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for the question. And our government has received several requests from First Nations to implement deferrals, and we've responded to all incoming requests and are committed to working with them. And we have been working with the Squamish Nation since last fall and have deferred some areas in their territory as we speak. Thank you.
Member for Saanich North End Island, supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think Squamish Nation has been clear, and I'll be clear. They don't want talks about protecting bits and pieces, small areas here and there. The nation is calling for an immediate 2-year deferral in its entire territory. They've identified at least 20 cut blocks with old-growth logging planned for the next 5 years, a point the minister does not want to talk about. The minister said recently, quote, "The first step is putting Indigenous peoples at the centre of land management in their respective territories." That's a dramatic difference than the response that we just heard, which is just more rhetoric. The Premier said a precedent in his writing. Finally, after more than 100 years, Indigenous nations have a pathway to stewarding and conserving their lands and can negotiate better economic terms than the pittance that this government has ever offered them. It's an exciting time, Mr. Speaker. For decades, this province has been operating a cut-and-run forestry policy. And now the decisions can be made by people who live on and care for the land. My question again is to the Minister. The Minister and Premier have said they are embracing a new era of Indigenous people making decisions in their territories. Our relatives in Squamish have made their decision. They've been clear about what that decision is to this government. Will the minister do the honourable thing and immediately grant a full set of deferrals, pausing old-growth harvesting in the Squamish Nation territory?
Minister of Forest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And committed to reconciliation and environmental protection, which we believe must go together. And the member's right. The days of making unilateral decisions.
Minister, we lost the audio.
Do you want me to start over, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. And I thank the member. And our government is committed to reconciliation and environmental protection, which we believe must go together. The days of making unilateral decisions without Indigenous peoples are over. The member is quite accurate. And we've been clear that the first step to protecting old growth is putting Indigenous people at the center of land management in their territories. And that's exactly why our government is working with the Pacheedaht, the Ditidaht, and the Huu-ay-aht First Nations to defer old growth logging in their territories, discussions that have been ongoing for a while. And as you know, the member has said that, you know, we are reaching out to nations. We have responded to nations that have asked for deferrals. We are having those important confidential, government-to-government discussions, and we will continue to do that with nations across the province who are looking to have more access to the land management in their traditional territory, to be able to have a say in how their land is managed. It's critically important to this government. We are moving forwards. We will have more deferrals to announce this summer.